Hello and welcome to the second unit of week 4, Activating SAP Fiori out of the box, of the Open SAP course SAP Fiori Overview, Design, Develop and Deploy. My name is Markus Erb, and together with Katja Jordan Philipp, Product Manager for UX Portfolio and Adoption, I will explain in this unit how to activate SAP Fiori apps in your own system. Delivering your solution requires focusing on how a business user experiences SAP Fiori. Starting from the SAP Fiori Launchpad, the user can navigate to domain-specific information and actions. Because many business users are knowledge workers, they will want to focus first on apps that bring real-time insights into what is happening in their domain. Those insights will help them make decisions about what actions they will take to keep their part of the business on track. They may need to drill down to see more details before making their decisions, or they may be ready to act immediately. The user experience should feel very fluid, with the business user following their train of thought from one insight to the next. Then, when they decide to act, the SAP Fiori app or classic user interface needs to be ready to perform that action directly on their fingertips. This means apps, user interfaces are not simply launched from the homepage of the Launchpad. A user needs to be able to navigate freely from an SAP Fiori app to the next logical SAP Fiori app or classical user interface relevant at the hand. This is why SAP S/4HANA solutions are delivered with several hundred business roles templates. Each business role template is based on the real-world business role, such as a purchaser, general ledger accountant, maintenance technician, or different. The business role template delivers a predefined navigation network of SAP Fiori apps and classic user interfaces relevant to that role. So, the business role contains not just the app and UIs, but also the mappings between them, and the parameters should be passed as you navigate from one app to the next. Because SAP S/4HANA solutions support a broad range of industries, not every business needs to have every business role. So, the best place to start is by identifying the business roles relevant to your organization. You can find out the business roles in the SAP Fiori apps reference library. Let's see how that works. Katja, please take over.
We are now in the SAP Fiori apps reference library. Here we can find all relevant content that can be consumed in the SAP Fiori Launchpad. We find links into a video, into topics such as lighthouse scenarios, Fiori, trial options. In addition, we can get recommendations based on our system usage. In order to navigate further in the library, we have options on the left side. For example, I'm interested in viewing all apps in SAP S/4HANA. Furthermore, I can decide how I would like to view these apps, for example, according to lines of business. And I can see here a list of lines of business and the number of apps related to them. Another option would be viewing my apps according to business roles. I see a list of business roles. I can see the name of the business role, the technical name of the business role, and a number next to it that means how many apps are related to the role. We can also search, and here we can search for roles. For example, I can find here the contract manager settlement management. This is a role. And here I see a list of apps are classified by different categories. What's new, other Fiori apps, and other apps. Let me now select one of them, and I will select this one. I can see that this app is available in SAP S/4HANA and SAP S/4HANA Cloud. I see product features, so high-level information around the app, key features, link into documentation, and if I scroll down, I see a screenshot. In addition, we have the tab of implementation information, where we can find technical information, subnodes, technical information on installation, configuration, extensibility support, and we can here also check the exact shipment when the app is available. Let me go back to the main page now and show you another filter, which is the Lighthouse apps. We have a filter Lighthouse apps, but we also have a document linked of the Lighthouse scenarios. And here we have a compilation of Fiori apps that are tagged as Lighthouse because they offer an immediate business benefit to the user. Let me apply the filter and we get this list of Lighthouse apps. And I can now search, for example, for apps related to sales. And I can select apps now. And let me just take this app, for example. And actually, it's the same display as the other apps I showed before. However, here we have the Lighthouse symbol. I will select more than one app now. I will select several apps. And what I would like to show you is that it is possible to aggregate information here. So I have more than one app, and I'm interested in compiling the information for the four apps. And I can get, for example, the configuration requirements aggregated. I can open it. And this is always for the selected apps. And if I scroll a little bit down, I'll find the section of the business roles. And this is telling me that the apps I selected, the four apps on the left side, are relevant for these two roles. I can take the roles now and I can export them into Excel. And I can just take these roles and save them in order to reuse them later for further processing, for activation of Fiori, for example, or for other purposes. And with this, I conclude the demo on the SAP Fiori Apps Reference Library.
Thank you, Katja. The recommended way to approach SAP Fiori activation, once you have identified your business roles, is to activate the whole business role in your sandbox system. Rapid activation is the quickest way to activate the list of roles you have selected. Rapid activation can even create a test business user per role, so you can start exploring the role straight away. Explore the business role template by experiencing it as a business user in your sandbox. This will help you gain a good understanding of how that role works, such as what insights are provided and how a user navigates between apps and classic UIs to complete their day-to-day work. This approach lets you demonstrate the role with your own data, so you can have a high-quality fit gap discussion with your business experts on how well the template fits to your own organization's needs. Once you have understood how the business role template works, as delivered, you can make decisions around what you want to refine that role to fit your real-life business role. You may need to add custom apps, other classic user interfaces, or URLs. You may need to remove some apps or add in apps from another business role template. To refine the role to your own needs, the recommended tool is SAP Fiori Launchpad Content Manager. With the task list customer content activation, it is then possible as well to activate roles in the customer own landscape. Now, Katja will show you some of this in the system. Katja, please go ahead.
In this demo, I would like to show task lists for rapid activation of SAP Fiori. I open the Task Manager for technical configuration, and I can find three task lists: the Foundation task list for basic configuration, the content activation in a sandbox, and the content activation of customer content. I will show you Foundation and content activation task lists. Let me start with the Foundation task list. This task list has many steps, many technical steps as basic configuration if we want to activate SAP Fiori. We find several steps here. Let me just mention some of them. There are steps related to activating HTTP services for several applications. We also find steps related to OData services. And there is also a step that allows us to create generic roles for an administrator and for an end user via this task list. Let me quickly open this. So we create these two roles, and these two roles, one for the administrator and one for the end user. And we can reuse them later where required. Let me proceed and show you now the content activation task list. The content activation task list is a task list that we run in a sandbox system. Here we activate the SAP standard content so that we are able to get familiar with Fiori, to get to know it, to see what the standard delivers, and to do a fit gap analysis of what is required or what needs to be adapted. Whenever we think about Fiori, we know that Fiori is role-based. And this is important when we implement and when we activate Fiori. We do not activate Fiori based on single Fiori apps, we activate Fiori based on business roles. And in order to do so, the task list offers two options to select the roles. Let me show you the first option. Here we can open a small editor and we can enter those roles where we want to activate content for. In my case, I have these two. They were stored in an Excel, and via cut and paste, I entered them here. The roles can also be retrieved out of the Fiori apps library. This is one option. The other option of selecting the business roles is a second one. Here we have a list of roles in this system. We can select single roles or all the roles, or we search for a specific term, and I get a list here, and I decide that I would like to activate content for the internal sales representative and for the sales manager. I save my selection and go back to the task list. Another step I would like to mention is this step here, generate new business roles with prefix. What does this mean? In the previous step, we have selected two roles, the internal sales representative and the sales manager. Now the task list takes these roles and generates two new roles with the prefix Z. That means the new roles are in the customer namespace and can be adapted further on later if required. In addition, we have this nice option of creating users with the generated business roles. What does that mean? That means that via this task list, we can immediately create users for the selected roles. In my case, it will be 2 users, so 2 test users, which we can use immediately after running the task list so that we can experience SAP Fiori and play around with Fiori to understand what's there, what's missing, etc. Let me quickly open the parameters. These users will start with an T. The users need a password, which I can enter here. And I have to repeat the password. And what is important here is that we add also a role. And I will do this now. And I'm adding here a role. And if you remember in the foundation task list, I showed that the foundation task list generates 2 roles, one for the administrator and one for the end user. And I'm reusing this role here now. When I'm done, I can save and I can go back to my task list. Running this takes just a few minutes, and after this we have users ready to use, ready to test, to experience SAP Fiori. And with this, I would like to conclude this demonstration.
Thanks, Katja. Just to summarize, use the SAP Fiori apps library to identify roles. Execute the task list for the Rapid Fiori activation in your sandbox. In your own SYS landscape, use the Line-Flat Content Manager to adjust your roles. Katja will now show you the latest steps of the process using the SAP Content Manager to adjust the content to customer needs. After that, a task list can be used to activate customers' own business roles.
Once we are familiar with the way the SAP delivered roles work, we may need to refine them according to customer needs. The recommended tool for doing this is the Content Manager. The Content Manager allows to browse content for the Fiori Launchpad and also to set up catalogs according to customer-specific needs. The Content Manager has three views: the Catalog view, the Tiles and Target Mapping view, and the Roles view. Let us go back to the Catalog view. Here we have a long list of catalogs. We can scroll or we can search. I will search for catalogs related to billing. I get my hit list and I select one of those catalogs, the billing document sales. Below I can see the content of the catalog, the tiles and target mappings, technical details, name of the tiles and target mappings, and here I see the application types such as GUI and UI5. So here I have a combination of GUI transactions and also of Fiori applications. I cannot change this catalog because this is an SAP catalog. However, I have the option of copying it, and I already did that before. Below you can see this catalog, which is a copy of the one I showed before, and this is already in the customer namespace. Looking to the bottom, I see a similar content, and I also see that now I have these functions which are not grayed out anymore. Adapting a catalog means that now I can get in what I need and get out what I don't need anymore. So let me show two examples. I would like to remove this GUI transaction. I just select it and remove it from the catalog. And the other option I would like to show is adding tiles and target mappings. I can go to the tiles and target mapping view. I have a very long list. I can scroll and select what I need, or I search. To search, I could search for the name of an application, or I could also enter a GUI transaction, or if I know it, I can also enter the Fiori ID of a Fiori application. I can search for it, and now that I find it, I can add it to my catalog. Back in the catalog, we can see that this line was added. There are some more options here in the Content Manager. Let me just show you a few. Now we will switch to the Show Usage in Roles to see which roles are already using my catalog. And currently, my catalog is assigned to this role of the internal sales representative, which is also a customer-specific role in my example. In addition to that, I could retrieve information about the internal sales representative from here. If I go to the role view, I will see the internal sales representative, and below I will see all the catalogs that have been assigned to the sales representative I just selected. Let me go back to the catalog view. What we can also do here is, from this view, we can open the PFCG, that is the role maintenance transaction, and from there we can also have a look into our sales representative and can see, for example, in the menu, all the content that is displayed here, assigned here, including the catalog that I just showed you. And with this, I would like to conclude the demonstration of the Content Manager, and I would like to thank you very much for your attention.
In this unit, we have given you a brief overview of the process of implementing SAP Fiori in your solution, using SAP S/4HANA as an example. There are many more resources to assist you in this journey. A few of them we have listed below on the slide. So, what did you learn in this unit? Using business role templates to rapidly activate holistic user experiences. Then leading practices for activating and refining SAP Fiori Launchpad content. And then resources to select, activate and refine content to fit real-life business roles. In the next unit, we'll be looking at configuring the SAP Fiori Launchpad user experience overall, beyond just the content itself. Thank you and goodbye.